Hi, I'm Rachel Whitefield, certified life coach, and with me is Jackie Black, our resident rule breaker. Thank you for joining us on another fabulous episode of Whiskey Bent and
Spellbound with Black
Whitefield.
All right, Rach, what are we drinking today?
Oh, Jackie, I am so glad you asked. We're doing something a little bit different today on the show. We are making a cocktail today. Yes, indeed. Drum roll, please. Our first whiskey cocktail concoction is an old-fashioned
Yes, classic whiskey drink.
Mad Men would be proud. We're going to start traditional with an old-fashioned today. We love it. So I am getting my old-fashioned recipe. Everyone has their favorite. We understand this, but I am using, it's going to be linked in the show notes below, book I bought at Target. It's Tiffany Blue called Bar None. And my old-fashioned recipe comes out of that book. And I will give you instructions, Jackie, but we know that, Jackie, you're not always a rule follower, as Rachel is. So you're not going to be following the rules today.
I'm going to twist them. I'm going to bend them a little bit. I always do.
There is a twist in this drink.
Indeed.
Twist. That's how we do it here. Okay. So, are you ready?
I'm so ready.
Oh,
wait. Hold on. Don't you have ice molds?
We do have ice molds. Thank you for catching that for me. You know what, Jackie? I had made other ice molds for this. I'm not going to say what they are. They were Star Wars themed. They were very excited. They were going to make their debut on the show. However, we decided to make an old fashioned. So I went just in the nick of time to make new fancy ice. Because it's an old fashioned, so you need a big ass ice cube. One big ass ice cube. That's official. Yep. Ingredient number one, big ass ice cube.
That's a big ass ice cube.
Big ass ice cube. So again, I use fancy sprinkles citrine yellow with this. And so it is a big cube. And then they have
right in the center, you can see a little splash of yellow.
Yeah, so it's a cube with like X's in it on the side. So it kind of looks like an old-fashioned glass as an ice cube. However, I'm putting in the big square glass for me. So we're just going big cubes today. Big cubes with citrine yellow glitter in it.
For a dash of pizzazz. Moxie, if you will.
Yes. Give them the old razzle-dazzle. Razzle-dazzle them. Bonus points in the comments if anyone can name the musical that's from. I love you so much. Okay. Are you ready? We got the ice mold. Do you have ice molds of choice?
No, because Jackie breaks the rules and the thing said ice molds. So I've got freezer cubes.
Freezer cubes. Okay. You got it. You got okay.
I have ice.
Rachel. Okay. Also, when I cook, I follow the recipe to the letter.
You probably even use measuring spoons and cups and all of that.
And I say that because I'm not good at cooking and I don't have faith in my skills outside of what the recipe gives. Yeah. And I don't just have like, oh, it'll be fine. Let's throw it in there. I'm like one speck of too much of an ingredient. It's going to throw the whole thing off. I can't do it.
Meanwhile, it says like 1 tablespoon and I dump some in my hand and then
Jackie measures with her heart.
Oh, I measure with my heart. I measure like an Italian lady.
Oh, I did forget. However, I forgot my measuring. So I will be pouring the whiskey with my heart today.
I love that.
So I'm a scotch there. I'm unclenching. Let's put it that way. Yeah. So follow along with us if your heart so desires. If not, we'll just walk you through how to make an old fashioned, and then we're gonna get into the podcast. Are you ready?
Okay. Yeah, let's list out those ingredients that we need first.
Yes.
So that they can follow along.
According to Bar None, we need 2 ounces Tennessee whiskey, we both are on the same page about this. We are using, because we have a lot of extra whiskey around our home that we got to get used to. So we got to make cocktails out of this. So we are both using Uncle Nearest 1856 premium whiskey, women owned, minority owned. We are proud to have them on our podcast. This is our favorite.
Babe.
Yes. Okay. 2 ounces. Are we pouring at the time? Or are we just going to go through the
No, they need simple syrup.
So, oh, no. What I have
Oh, okay.
my instruction manual, ma'am.
Oh, okay. My bad.
So
I thought we needed that.
we have Tennessee whiskey, just whiskey. Let's go whiskey. Like
Whiskey.
calm
Get your whiskey
down.
out.
Get your whiskey, because of course, Whiskey Bent Spellbound.
Mhm.
You can't be Whiskey Bent without whiskey. 2 dashes Angostura bitters. I have a brand new bottle here. I bought it for such the occasion.
Oh, we have the same bottle.
Yeah.
Love that.
Angostura bitters. Then we have sugar cubes. I have CNH sugar cubes, whole brand new box for such the occasion. So sugar
I don't
cubes.
have sugar cubes. I have granulated sugar because I'm going to make mine just as, I'm breaking the rules.
Breaking the rules, but I did pre-Google for you, Jacqueline, that 1 sugar cube is 2 teaspoons.
Got it.
If
I
you aren't,
I didn't measure. I just dumped it out.
you're fine. Everything's fine. And then 1 orange for garnish. So instructions: get serving glass. Check.
Check.
Ooh, it says add. I'm gonna take my ice out of here because it says. Let me pour my ice out real quick. My 1 cube, because it says add sugar and bitters. So I'm going to take my ice out and I'm going to put my 1 sugar cube in here.
And then what's the measurement on those bitters, sister?
It says, not scientific. Let's see, add 2 dashes.
Oh, okay.
So I think it depends on the gusto in which you dash. So
I dashed the
1,
shit out of that.
2. Go that. Okay.
I added a third little splash just for
I did, because I thought the second shake wasn't enough. Okay. And then it says muddle until mixed. However, I'm a rule breaking a little bit. I think I swear I have a full bar until I realized I only had a absinthe spoon, but no muddler. So I just have a stir. I have a stir spoon, and I'm just crushing up this sugar cube as we speak.
I don't have a stir spoon or a muddler. I personally have the end of a knife.
But I am showing this sugar cube who is boss right now. I'm in charge of you, sugar cube. And then I was like, what means it's muddled? Because some of this is like liquid with the bitters. I don't know.
It says till mixed. So I've got
Till
mine.
mixed. Okay, I got a nice taste here.
I'm gonna do something with my glass. I'm gonna dip the top of my glass in some orange juice because it does include oranges.
Okay.
And then I'm going to roll the rim of my glass in sugar.
So you're gonna make it like a cocktail. You know what? I love that we make our own mixture battles. We're gonna make something new out of this. Okay. So it says muddle until mixed. I'm gonna put this ice cube back in here. Cube back in the glass. Clink. Then it says pour in whiskey. So 2 ounces. Lord knows what that is. We're pouring with our hearts. Let the spirit pour the spirit. Cork off. And I'm going to pour this right over my giant ice cube. And I'm going to say until the top of the ice cube. That's be 2 ounces, right? Question mark.
I'm making my sugar even prettier by adding fancy sprinkles in amethyst.
What? You do like the amethyst.
Purple is my second favorite color.
What's your first favorite color?
Black.
That's true. You know, my favorite color is black and light pink.
Teal.
I don't like them together. It reminds me of 280s is pink and black together.
All right. And then
I like pink in my home. I like black on my clothes. Okay. And then simple cocktail. It says garnish with an orange twist. But I have sumo oranges here. I'm just.
What was after the ice?
The whiskey.
The whiskey.
I'm gonna give it a little squeeze. You know what? I'm going off road right now. I'm gonna I'm going to squeeze this orange in here because I didn't do a twist beforehand. I just sliced my oranges because, of course, I don't read the instructions because as a rule follower as I am, I also have ADHD. So we just wing it, wing and a prayer part-time.
I
So
mean, you did read them. You probably you did
I
a,
read
what do you call it?
I read the ingredients. So I was like an orange. I was like, oh, I got it. So let me slice this orange. So, okay, I'm just going to put this orange peel in here after being squeezed and voila. Done and done. Just clap, 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 clap.
Yes. All right.
Yes.
My ice cubes also had
Your
a
sugar
little bit of purple
jam
amethyst.
in your purple drink.
Yeah. And then instead of like regular oranges, what I actually have are dried tangerines.
Oh, those look very nice. They look very witchy because they're like dehydrated.
Excuse me. Like, I wish, look at this.
You have such a witchy concoction. Mine looks like an old fashioned would. Hmm.
Yours looks like an old fashioned. Mine is a witchy old fashioned. What do you
Yes.
call it? The Whiskey Bent Spellbound.
Yeah. What is
Old
it? Whiskey
fashioned.
Bent Spellbound. It's old fashioned inspired.
Yeah. I
Yes.
mean, it's got basically all the ingredients.
I know. Look at this ice cube. Look at the sparkle.
Yeah, that's real cool, actually.
Real pretty.
That's it. I'm getting big ice cubes.
You know, I'll say it and I say it again with our sparkle and our whiskey. I was like, we are women who drink whiskey and we understand that this is sometimes a male dominated space in the whiskey market. However, we're here to drink whiskey the way we want to drink whiskey, i.e., it's glittery and sparkly, and not to drink whiskey in a man's space. I'm here to drink whiskey in a woman's space. So, to
Oh, that's
you, bestie, cheers, clinkies,
Clinkies.
clinkies. Let's try it. I think I could have missed out on the second bitter, on the third bitters thing. Okay,
Okay,
well,
I really like mine.
first of all, if you are what you eat, I am sweet. So I have a sweet tooth. So so I was like, oh, okay, it's not sweet because I would think with more with the sugar cube. But no,
You can add another one.
I think I just might because it's
Add
Rachel's
another one.
world and I am the main character. So I'm gonna put an extra sugar cube in it.
Well, let's see what it tastes like.
I think it throws me off because I'm used to just drinking whiskey straight. Does that make sense? Like I'm used to drinking whiskey straight, so I'm like, it's not hitting my palate right, but that doesn't mean it's not good. I made a beautiful cocktail, everybody. Don't doubt me.
Mine is really good.
Okay, so
Mine
what did
is
you use? Well, you also have a
mine is
sugared rim.
I have a sugared rim with orange juice.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of oranges or an orange peel inside mine.
Mm-hmm.
And then I have 2 tablespoons of granulated sugar. So it didn't really needed to be muddled. It just kind of needed to be stirred in a little bit, smushed down. I smushed it down a little bit, and then just the ice and the Uncle Nearest.
Yeah, sugar on sugar on sugar. Oh,
Yeah.
honey, honey.
But I mean, it made a really beautiful drink with the purple
I am
sprinkles,
a
the amethyst.
dog. It's very one thing about I just feel like I don't put enough glitter in my drinks because your amethyst glitter has changed the entire dynamic of that cocktail.
I know. And if I told somebody I am drinking an old fashioned,
Mm-hmm. They'd be like,
they
yeah,
would not believe me.
no, stop it. You're not
This
doing.
is the way, this is absolutely the way a woman can drink and like just be like old fashioned, make it witchy.
I do it.
You know?
It is because I
It's a
say
little
it.
feminine.
That is.
Yeah, it's a little feminine attitude.
Mm,
Just
mm,
old
mm,
fashioned
mm.
needs, quite frankly. Everybody needs a little bit of feminine attitude. All right, Rach, what are we talking about today?
Oh, that is indeed a fantastic question. And that now that we're talking about it, you know what? We are talking about attachment styles today on the podcast. Are you familiar with them?
So I took this test
Mhm.
years ago. After I had my second divorce. So about 4 years ago.
Mhm.
Wow, it's been a minute. So about 4 years ago, I took this test when I first, after my second divorce, when I first got with my third husband. Oh God.
But real quick, before we jump into it, let's talk about attachment styles for those who may not be familiar with it.
Yeah.
So there's the basic 4 attachment styles, which is anxious-occupied, fearful-avoidant, dismissive-avoidant, and securely attached. So do you want me to get into like the kind of the breakdown of each one, or do you want to go on with
Let's
your
talk
story?
about what we are, and then we can talk about the other two,
Okay.
like what we're not. We'll talk about those ones afterwards because there's 4, right?
Yeah. So there's kind of 4 basic ones, and I think you can kind of get into the Venn diagram of like overlapping and whatnot.
Overlap.
So the first time I ever heard about attachment styles, I was out with my friend, and we were out to dinner, and he was more kind of did this work. I had never heard of it before. But he says, I bet you're a dismissive avoidant. And I was like, I don't know what you're talking about, but that doesn't sound wrong. And then when someone kind of like sees you right as you are, and you're like,
Yeah.
I don't know anything about this, but that sounds right. Like I dismissive
so
avoidant.
right.
So it's like, then I started to like kind of research more into these different attachment styles. Do you want to go ahead with yours?
So here's the thing. Remember I mentioned that I had taken this
Mhm.
test
Yeah.
when after my second divorce, when I first got with my third husband and we were just dating.
Mhm.
And my girlfriend, one of the Samanthas, everybody knows I love a Samantha. I have lots of Samanthas in my life. One of the Samanthas said, Jackie, you seem like you're an anxious attachment style. And I was like, I feel like I know exactly same kind of reaction that you did. Somebody told me, and then I was like, that probably. And then they were like, you can take a test. So I took the test, and I was an anxious, fearful attachment style.
Mm-hmm. Some
So
tests have overlapping different types. So not all attachment styles. It's not necessarily always cut and dry.
yeah, I was very much like, I need somebody, I can't be alone, so on and so forth. And I definitely I just got out of a 10-year marriage, and then I jumped into another relationship. Like, of course I'm going to be anxious and like fearful that I'm going to be abandoned again, like of course.
Mm-hmm.
So I answered the questions and got exactly what she told me I was. And I was like, okay, that's cool. But the thing is that since my third divorce, since living alone, since being back in the dating world, since learning how to set my boundaries, which is a big, big thing that I'm literally learning at 41.
40
So
wonderful.
that's fine. 40 wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
Now I am a fearful avoidant.
So so for our listeners who may not be super aware, or they have a different spectrum of what they're doing, we are kind of going off the attachment style test from the personal development school, found it on the internet. Thank you, internet.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to go quickly over a brief synopsis of each type of attachment style. So we'll go
Yeah.
from there. So we're going to start with anxious occupied. So relationships can often make you feel anxious, or anxious preoccupied. Relationships can often make you feel anxious, unsafe, or insecure because you likely have a subconscious fear of abandonment. As a result, you seek more closeness in your relationships and can feel afraid if you sense a loved one is pulling away. So is that where you started out, Jackie?
That is exactly. I was so afraid. It's so funny because it was so clear to me that I was an anxious attachment style because I said multiple times, like, you're just going to leave me. You're just going to leave me. Like I said it out loud in my third marriage.
Mm-hmm.
So it definitely was I absolutely.
So next is fearful avoidant. So fearful
I love
avoidant.
that comes right after.
Just right after. So anxious, preoccupied, fearful avoidant. Fearful avoidant is relationships can feel chaotic, confusing, and overwhelming because you swing between being avoidant, and anxious. Depending on the relationship, you can shift between being hot and cold, often feeling confused about your feelings.
Wow.
So we'll get into it later, but you have transitioned attachment styles.
For
Correct.
sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
So since I have been made aware of attachment styles, mine has stayed the same. I can't imagine just who I am as a person, like anxious, preoccupied, fearful, avoidant. Like, that's not who I am. It's like, I am such a hardcore dismissive avoidant. So let's get into that. So,
Yeah.
dismissive avoidant. Intense emotions can feel overwhelming and can cause you to pull away from others. You may find yourself withdrawing from arguments or triggering situations. This need for independence can cause challenges in your relationships and inner conflict for you because deep down, you want to connect with others. And I chuckle when I say that because I was like, God damn, if I'm not textbook dismissive avoidant.
Yeah.
And then what we kind of want to move through doing the work internally on ourselves is a secure attachment style. So a secure attach, you often feel comfortable and ease in relationships. You're also good at communicating your needs and feelings and feel open to vulnerability in your relationships. However, sometimes you can experience difficulty when relating to those who aren't as secure in relationships. So, say a secure attached person or securely attached person dates a dismissive avoidant or an anxious preoccupied. They might be in the chaos of their other attachment style, and this other secure person is like, I don't understand why they're like this, or I don't understand because this XYZ may make sense to me or may not make sense to me, kind of thing. Or like when you're with maybe a more chaotic partner, it's like when you have an easygoing partner, it's like, how are you not anxious, about this?
Why aren't you worried?
Yeah, you're like, because I'm good, So okay, so why don't we talk about where you started, where you are now? We have taken a test recently today, and we'll go through the questions for our listeners who kind of want to answer themselves as they go along. If they can kind of answer in their own personal journey. So why don't we start with your story, Jaki, of where you started and where you are now? Because your attachment style has changed.
Yeah, it's so hard to think, God, I don't even know how to explain it. Like the way I used to think in my relationships because of what I have been through.
So real quick, you started as an anxious
Anxious
preoccupied
attachment.
the
Yeah.
first time, which was often make you feel anxious, unsafe, and insecure because you have subconscious fear of abandonment. Okay.
Yes. God. And you know what? Here's the thing. That makes total sense because both of my parents throughout my formative years were in the Navy.
Mm-hmm.
And only one parent was ever home at a time. And then when they were home together, it was sort of a turbulent household. They didn't really get along. They just stayed married because there was 4 kids.
And I'm sure, as I don't want to speak for the dynamic of your household, but also you're looking to one parent for guidance, one parent for needs, one
Right.
parent for things. This other parent comes in, wants to say, hey, I'm home now. You don't look to that parent for anything.
Well, that's the thing. I had neither to look to on a regular basis. So that's
And
why
you're
I
the
have
oldest and you're parentified.
yes, exactly. I definitely helped raise my brothers and sisters, changed diapers, made the bottles, picked them up from school, like all of that stuff, all of it. And so really like, and then the one parent that I had that was more regularly home was my mom, and she's sort of a dismissive avoidant,
Mm-hmm.
like completely. And as an older lady, she definitely is getting more dismissive of people. She just does not give a shit. So being
Real,
raised by, go ahead.
real quick, when it comes to dismissive avoidant, little research that I have, this kind of comes from as we build our styles growing up and
Yeah.
who our primary caretaker is. And we
Yeah.
can change very much. Like I always feel it's a nature versus nurture of who you feel, but it's kind of like, as we are being formed as children, who is our primary caretaker? How do they take care of us? How did we internalize that care or lack thereof? And then how did we turn to self-soothe ourselves? Or how do we then attach to a romantic partner because of our primary caretaker as children? So go on.
Well, they just were never,
Mhm.
they weren't regularly around and stable when they were. I don't know how to explain it. My mom worked 20 hours a day even after she got out of the Navy, because she went right into customs.
Mhm.
And then my dad went into the Merchant Marines after he got out of the Navy. And it was just like nobody was ever home. I didn't have that regular stability. I'm not complaining. I loved my life. I'm blessed that both my parents are in my life. You know what I'm saying? I'm not complaining. But because of that, I'm so fearful. I was so fearful of not having that kind of stability as an adult that I immediately attached to somebody, immediately got married, divorced, immediately attached to somebody. I wasn't even like, I have not been single. I've said this on the podcast before. I have not been single since I was 13 for longer than 6 months. No joke. 13 is when I started being with people, having a significant other. And I never, ever, ever went more than 6 months as a single person. This is the very first time, 40 wonderful years old.
Wow.
So because of that, I knew as soon as I heard about this, that I was for sure anxious about being abandoned, about being alone. And like, I don't know what was so scary for me, as if I had not been kind of alone, even with somebody, this entire time.
Because reading about anxious preoccupied is, as a result, you seek more closeness in your relationships and can feel afraid if you sense a loved one is pulling away.
Yeah. That was always a source of contention in all 3 of my marriages.
Were you ever anxious knowing that your parents would have to go out to sea or to leave you guys?
All the time. Are you kidding?
Mm-hmm.
All the time. And like, being a Navy child, it's really a heart-wrenching thing to have to go through every 6 to 9 months. My parents were never home more than 6 to 9 months at a time. One parent, and they would just rotate. It was like single parent. And then you had to learn each parent's parenting style. And because of that, and I'm so much older than my brothers and sisters, I do become parentified as a byproduct, because I'm now the most.
They're looking to you for support.
Yeah. I'm the most regular person in their life.
And
So,
as a Navy wife,
yeah.
I had a very stable home, but I was a Navy wife for 8 years, and it was just like, when they come home from deployment, they're not the same person that left.
No.
And they have to get used to coming back home, and they have to get used to everything else. So there's the transition period, and it's kind of weird, and you're getting used to having this person next to you, even though you're family. And, it's just like, okay, who am I coming home to? Because any military wife will tell you the man that writes to you is not the man that comes home. Because they'll promise you the sun, moon, and stars, and they want closeness and community and everything else. And they come home and they're just like, I just want to readjust, or I just want, like, it's not the same,
It's
so
hard.
it's like,
It's a
I'm
hard
sure your dad
transition.
who left, your mom who left, who came home, is not who came back. And it takes some adjustment period. And then you just want to be like, I just want my mom or my dad. I just want them to come back.
Yeah.
But why do we have to get used to each other again?
Yeah. So definitely made sense that I was an anxious attachment. And then I really think that my third marriage, combined with the after effects of my second marriage, like not being healed from the trauma of my second marriage, and then jumping into a relationship with somebody, I knew at the beginning that if I stayed with this man, we would get married and then divorced. I knew it.
You knew it wasn't a marriage.
I knew. I don't know why I was with him. I don't know what kind of spell I put my own self under.
But was it almost like, oh, but I'm with someone, so that is a success, that someone loves me, that I have someone?
But that's the thing, is that I never felt loved by him, ever.
But you, quote unquote, had somebody.
I had somebody who made me feel a little bit of safety,
Mm-hmm.
I think it was. And after what I had been through with my second ex-husband, I felt like I needed that. And at the beginning, he definitely offered that feeling of safety, but he never offered that feeling of security in our relationship. And that sort of just progressively got worse. So I think after my third marriage, I really took a hard look at myself and the lessons that I had learned as far as like being an anxious attachment person. And that like I am anxious because I am alone. Why the fuck am I so afraid of being alone? And I had to take a really hard look at myself and then just be the fuck alone, not try to go and seek that validation from an external source, not go to seek that fucking partnership from that.
Because from listening to you, where it's like, I've never been alone for longer than 6 months since I was 13, it was like, maybe from what I'm hearing is like the comfort comes from being in a relationship, even if the relationship makes you uncomfortable, because it's
Okay.
less uncomfortable than being alone. And that uncertainty that you don't know how to be alone. So that feels icky versus, oh, I'm with somebody. So that is comforting, even if the relationship
Wow.
is not comforting.
I didn't need you to yell at me like that until because damn.
I love you so much.
God. But yes,
Am I wrong?
yes, you're not. You are not. And I feel like I learned that pretty after this third time, and I sat in the shit.
Yes.
And instead of trying to date people to fill that space, like fill it, I relied on my girlfriends a little bit more,
Mm-hmm.
I did things for my health instead. And now I am back, obviously, in the dating world. I bounce back and forth just depending on the mood. But now I'm so much more aware of how high my standards are that I don't believe that there's going to be somebody out there that's
Mm-hmm.
going to meet those standards. They show up with a lot of, potential, but
Mm-hmm.
then, you know me,
But we
it's
don't
not,
date potential.
we don't date potential. And like I let if they show a lot of potential and they get past those first 10 sentences, I let them a little bit closer in. And then you got to really impress me. But I have really learned how to set my boundaries on what I want and what I accept and how I'm talked to and how I'm treated. And I've learned that from those past 3 relationships. And now
You
I'm just a fearful avoidant.
You took the
I feel
test today and you got
I
new.
took it.
Mm-hmm. And now you're fearful avoidant. So let's go back into that. So fearful avoidant relationships can feel chaotic, confusing, and overwhelming because you swing between being avoidant and anxious. Depending on a relationship, you can shift between being hot and cold, even feeling confused about your feelings. Jackie's always falling in love. Jackie is never in love.
I'm never in love, but I love to fall in
Love to
love.
fall in love. Thank you.
I love to say I love you for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
And then what happens? Do you like to be the first person to says it?
I think I've only been the first person to say it twice.
Mm-hmm.
Twice. I don't like to be the first person to say it. But
Mm-hmm.
I think in my subconscious, I do to force it out.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Or there has been one time in the recent past where I said it, and then the next day I was like, oh, that wasn't me, that was him. I was feeling his emotions so heavily that I said it. And I was like, no,
You got that dopamine dump.
I got a dopamine dump from his energy. And I was like, I love you. And he's like, I love you too.
This is Rachel. I got to get the fuck up out of here.
Literally, the thinking about it makes me want to run away.
What? Someone
I
saying
never again. Like as soon as I feel like I want to say it, I'm gonna call you instead and be like, I almost said it, bitch. And you're gonna be like, no, don't.
And I literally told the man I'm dating now, I was like, I'm just making sure you're not a dopamine dump. I was like, you can be in love with me all you want. I'm not saying it. I'm not saying
I
it.
love how
I'm
you
fucking
set your
sure.
boundaries like that, though. I love how you set your boundaries like that. So I've definitely been pulling those phrases whenever I'm like talking to a man. I'm like,
Mm.
I want to set a boundary. I want to set a boundary right now. What would Rachel say?
Yeah. Oh, that was another show of like WWRD. What would Rachel do? Which just warms the cockles of my heart
I
about.
know it does.
Oh my God. Okay. So let's get any last thoughts on your transitions?
I just think that my transition was very much something that came from lessons learned. And I think that your attachment style can definitely change as you learn lessons of being in relationships. I think for
More.
sure your next stage is going to be a secure attachment.
Mm-hmm.
Like the relationship you're in right now really lets me see like a growth in you. So I think that that's like where if this is a successful relationship, it's going to be that's the road you're down right now. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah, and I just want to say, you can also have a successful relationship through open communication with different attachment styles.
Yes.
This is not something that changes overnight. It took you years as you slowly transitioned from anxious preoccupied to a fearful avoidant. Now, who knows where you're going to go? The whole point is we all want to move eventually into like a securely attached person.
Yeah.
So we have different love stories, of course, in our
Right.
lives, but yeah, so my friend just hole in one was just like, you're a dismissive avoidant. I was like, I don't know what you're talking about, but I don't think you're wrong. So again, dismissive avoidant, intense emotions can feel overwhelming and cause you to pull away from others. You may find yourself withdrawing from arguments or triggering situations. This need for independence can cause challenges in relationships and inner conflict for you because deep down you want to connect with others. And like let's get into that. So I took this test again today as well. And I again just got dismissive avoidant. I wasn't trying to get anything in particular. I was hoping I was going to get securely attached.
I think
And
you're on
then
that road for sure.
and here's the thing where I get a little confused between dismissive avoidant and securely attached, because dismissive avoidants do have boundaries. They do, or like, this isn't going to work for me. I'm going to need some space. But it's like, will I not tolerate shit behavior? Or am I running away from, perhaps relationships have conflict? Like, and we're talking about healthy conflict resolution to move forward closer together. So it's more of like, am I triggered and I want to run away and I'm avoiding that conflict? Or it's like, will I just not tolerate a shit situation of just like, you're not going to treat me like this and I will not tolerate it, kind of thing. So in the dating world, as the research I've done on attachment styles, there's a lot more dismissive avoidance in the dating world
I
because
think that comes from a lot of really shitty experiences.
but we tend to say this doesn't work for me, I'm going to pull away, and then we kind of bounce from relationship to relationship. That's not necessarily me, because I would only get on dating apps when I'm like, okay, I'm ready to go out on 3 dates again, kind of thing. So I wouldn't necessarily bounce around, but it was just kind of like the second there's something where I'm like, ooh, it's conflict. But again, we're maybe when people start to sleep together very quickly. So you're in a very intimate situation, but you also haven't built the groundwork of how you are going to communicate about it, if that makes sense.
It
You know,
does.
so it's more of like, I don't know how to talk to this person about something, even though we share something that is emotionally intimate or whatnot. So we just kind of like, we just tend to bounce of just like, okay, thanks, that doesn't work for me, I don't know how to deal with this. But if we're talking about, your childhood and your caretakers, it's like, I am my mother's daughter, like my sister was my father's, but that's not to say that like, I was a mama's girl and my sister was a daddy's girl. That's not to say our parents didn't love us equally. They didn't
Right.
love us the same. Like, even though my father passed away when I was a teenager, I have no doubt that he loved me with his whole heart. Like, I don't have any conflict there, or like quote unquote daddy issues. That's not fair,
Yeah.
but it's like, if I look to my mother as my primary care parent, she's pretty dismissive avoidant. So it's like, we look internally to ourselves for self-soothing, to, if she, like, my family, even with my mother, it is an awkward hug always, so it's like,
Oh, it's a side hug
yeah, or like we hug because we are family and we should hug,
because you
you
have
know.
to.
What's that? Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's like, the situation calls for it, but we don't know how to hug, so it's like, and that is your
Situation
primary,
calls
like,
for it.
number one parent. Like, that's kind of awkward, so it's like, you look internal and to yourself to like, how would I handle the situation? How can I self-soothe myself? How can I manage this kind of thing? I look to myself to handle the situation. And then, especially as I got married at 21, married 21 to 34, and then he was in the Navy, and I have to handle my own shit for a long time. Those are very formidable years to grow up
Yeah.
and really become who you are with a person. And say, and he wasn't in the Navy at first, but I was very, very much forged by this person. And then he was very dismissive avoidant of like, we don't know how to handle stuff. Like, let's just not fight. Like, we're together, but let's just not fight, so, and again, and then it says, deep down, you want to connect with others. I always wanted more of him, but he would be like, I don't know how to handle a crying woman when you're upset. Please go into the bedroom until you feel better.
I fucking hate him.
So it's like, I, again, have to manage
Why?
myself.
First of all, why would he say something like that? Because isn't he from a big family?
And this man has 6 sisters,
How do you
and he's
not
the baby
understand?
brother.
That doesn't make any sense. You're the baby brother and you can't handle women crying.
Again, England, iron fist and a velvet glove. It is a stiff upper lip. He could never have the agency to cry himself, so he does not know how to handle anyone who cries.
Fine.
Give him that, what the fuck ever, but that is his issue to handle. I am a full and complete person, and I will not hide who I am or any emotion I have on the spectrum, and I'm not going to apologize for it. So it's like, I don't have a shoulder to cry on my partner. I have to handle it myself. So I handle it myself, so it's more of just like, and now doing my own work, you realize how much like hyper independence is a trauma response. When I'm like, I'm a strong, independent
100%.
woman that don't need no man. The second there's something like that hits me the wrong way, I'm like, oh, nope, that's not going to work for me. Bye. And then it's like, when you can't depend on the person you are supposed to depend on because he is deployed, or
Yep.
or emotionally he is literally not there when he is on the couch next to you when you're having a bad day, you can't look to him because he doesn't know how to handle it. So it's like, I can only handle myself in the best way I know how, which I didn't have any role models to show me outside of I'll be fine, XYZ. So it's very much like that. So when you become a dismissive avoidant, there's a lot of us out there just because I feel like anxious preoccupied, like they will, or fearful avoidance, they want an attachment so much that they will find each other and stay together because you want that relationship. You want to be in love. You want to, I was like, for 2 dismissive avoidants to date each other, I was like, it's not going to really last that long. We got to be like attached. Like my partner now, we think he is an anxious preoccupied. I was like, he's going to hang in there with me,
Yeah.
And so I was like, thank God, because it's 2 dismissive avoidance. We are just polar. We're just same ends of a magnet. Like, if they were going to repel
Literally.
each other
Fine.
because we can't handle it.
Bye. Just
Bye.
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 Yeah.
I said bye first.
Yeah. Or like, just ghost. Let's just ghost on top of ghosting kind of thing. And then we're like, it doesn't matter to me. Like, I'm fine on my own. Peace.
Can't ghost me. I
Come
ghost
a
you.
day where I don't remember your name. That's what I tell myself.
I don't want to be able to remember his voice. That's the big thing is that, okay, so second husbands, I can't remember his voice anymore.
Ooh.
Yeah.
good. Yeah,
Yeah.
there'll come a day where I don't remember the Limey's voice, but again, it's a little harder because he had an accent, you know, and I was taken with it. It's just a young little spring chicken.
I mean, why wouldn't you be?
Why wouldn't I be? Of course, of course. But yeah, so dismissive avoidance, there's a lot of us out there. And I apologize in advance for the dating world because you're going to run into us far more than the rest of the world because all these other anxious, preoccupied, fearful avoidance, they tend to attach to each other and stay attached for a little longer than the rest of us are. Yeah. So so I took the test today. I'm still dismissive avoidant. I have not changed. But again, like, who else would I be? I'm a Slytherin dismissive avoidant.
Surprise.
Surprise. You know, but it's just, but I'm also like, I feel very emotionally protected by my dismissive avoidance. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because I'm like, it's going to save me from a lot of shit I don't have to deal with. Bye. Like, if any, I love being a dismissive avoidant. I wouldn't
That's
mind
true.
transitioning into a securely attached, but I was like, anxious, preoccupied. I was like, there's not a space to be anxious for a relationship in my space. I do not have that in me. Like, and again, maybe it's just like, it's hard for me to identify, not to have empathy with somebody for have anxiety, but I was like, well, I'm not going to tolerate that in my relationship. Like, but it's really hard to like, but again, since my divorce, the longest relationship I ever had was 8 months, and it's on average about 6 months. So I'm seeing someone kind of in that kind of time frame, and I'm like, Gina, how fucking lucky you are right now, sir.
Yeah, I'm not even seeing an end at this right now.
Right
Like
now.
6 months, he's breaking it. He's gonna break it.
He's gonna get to 6 months. We'll see if we get to 8 months, kind of thing. But I was like, if he gets past 8 months, like, oh, okay, you're someone special, sir. But again, I've been divorced, what, 6 years now, that it's like, okay, 8 months is the most, but I'm also having a relationship is not the most important thing. Being happy in a relationship is a good thing. So it's like, I'm not going to sacrifice my happiness for the sake of having a shitty relationship
Yeah, and
just to say I have one.
and that made me learn a very, very hard but much needed lesson to get me right the fuck out of that anxious attachment style.
Mm.
I couldn't go on in my life, I don't think, and have this mindset if
Mhm.
I continued to be an anxious attachment. Like, I mean, obviously, maybe not mindset. Maybe I feel like I'm having a lot of personal success right now. I
Mhm.
feel like I'm having a lot of success in my career. So I feel like that last relationship really catapulted me into it. Even though I'm still a fearful avoidant,
Mhm.
my heart is still open for love. Like, you know what
Yeah.
I'm saying?
Yeah. Because
So, and I'm aware of it and
you
working towards stability.
you've been married 3 times. You're like, I could be like Elizabeth Taylor. I'll be married fucking 8 times if you're the right man. Like, yes, I'm here for it. Me, I'm like, I've already been married. I already had a husband.
And
Like,
I'm like,
I
I
assume
love,
I will have great loves in my life, but I was like, there ain't no promises that I'll be married twice in my life.
ma'am, I love being married. I want to do it 7 8 times.
Me, I'm just like, mm-mm.
I'm already on last name number 5 once I change it again.
Again, I know. Are you ready to go through the questions to share the questions with our audience with
Let's share the highlights questions because we're gonna put the link in the show notes
yeah,
and then
we
we can
are.
just go through it. So some really poignant questions.
Yeah, let's go through these poignant ones. Let me find some.
I really love this test and it like really gives me I feel like knowing that I've transitioned from anxious to fearful avoidant to me is a positive thing just because I was just jumping into everything and now I'm like, no, I'm not jumping in. Because I'm not jumping in until you reach the standards that I have set, and the bar is in outer space. And I expect you to meet that bar. Otherwise, it's not going to happen.
And transitioning attachment styles is very common. And again, we all want to get to secure. We're like, yes, like I'm not afraid of this person's going to leave me. This is a healthy relationship. I'm not just in it just to have a relationship. But
Yeah.
I feel like you're going to go through all of them. Like your next one is dismissive-avoidant, where you're just like, I don't need it. Because
I
again, now that this is the longest you've ever been, quote unquote, single in your life, it's like, okay, we're sitting in that. There's a
I'm
difference.
starting to like it. That's the
There's
thing.
there's a
Is I'm starting
difference
to really like it.
between being lonely and being alone.
Yeah.
I am alone. I am never lonely.
Right.
You're getting used to being alone and
Yeah.
not lonely.
I'm not used to it yet. Don't get me wrong, but I am absolutely getting used to it and I'm loving it more and more every day. So
Mm-hmm.
I do think that I think I'm at the end of fearful and more to the dismissive. I think I'm like teetering sort of back and forth. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. So again, these are just highlights of a test. We'll link to the show notes. So here's a question. I can be very emotionally present with others, friends, family, partners, strangers, but it takes me a while to build trust and share vulnerable things about myself. So,
Yeah. So I answered that differently this time than I did the last time. Last time it was no, because I usually, before I was like, this is vulnerable information about me.
mhm.
And now I'm like, yeah, because I'm not telling you shit until I trust you.
Yeah. And these questions are true false. So you can answer them
Yeah.
as you put. I often put other people in my life on a big pedestal, partner, friends, family. We had to
Yeah.
talk about this because I was like, well, of course, put my friends on a pedestal. I think they're amazing.
Obviously.
However, it was, are they on a pedestal up here and I feel I'm down here? Because I was like, no, my friends put me on a pedestal too. We are queens. And I was like, I know how to answer this. Okay. Just because they're on a pedestal doesn't mean they are above me. I think we're all the same. Let's see. I feel naturally comfortable. That's where it caught me. I feel naturally comfortable and safe expressing my feelings and needs to loved ones. I feel very upset when others infringe on my need for space or time alone.
Okay, I read that question and knew your answer. I was like, she's yeah.
I was like, that was the easiest one. I feel very upset when others infringe on my time, infringe on my need or space for time alone. I was like, yeah, I need my space and time. I was like, that is a dismissive avoidant question at all. My partner this past week, Deadpool, was like, do you, I was feeling kind of aloof. I was going through some stuff. And he was like, do you need space today? And I was like, yes, thank you for asking. Thank you for offering it. I couldn't even think to ask it. I wasn't emotionally available for that, but I was like, again, like, thank you for being
Literally 10 points for Gryffindor.
10 points for Gryffindor for him. Yes. He
Seriously.
really gives me just so much space and grace to be a dismissive avoidant Slytherin. And God love that man. So let's go. I'm willing to work through challenges in a relationship before suddenly trying to leave the relationship itself. Let's see what else. I struggled with this question. I tend to be out of touch with my emotions quite frequently.
I don't think you're out of touch though. I think you need to understand your own emotions before you're able to express them to other people. And you have to like um really stir the pot in your heart and mind. Like, what is this? What is this? What is this? You have to analyze it.
Yeah,
And then you're able to express them.
I questions. I was like, is this disassociation? Kind of thing. I was
Yeah.
like, unless version of Rachel might it's been yes, but I was like, I tend to be out of touch. She's like, right. I always call it the hot 72. I'm never good in the moment, but I was like, you give me a couple of days, I'll be like, I will come and tell you beautiful articulation, exactly how I feel and why that made like I'm never good in the moment, but hang in there and I'm gonna be able to answer that question for you. Did you
My
feel yeah.
my problem is I just word vomit and then none of it makes sense. So nobody knows what I'm feeling. So that's fine.
I wouldn't say I'm very calculated with expressing how I feel,
That
but I
part.
need to understand how I feel before I can express it. Oh, this is a great question. I am very attuned to others' needs and often put them before my own and resent it later.
Me.
Yeah.
100%.
And me, I was like, full.
I know.
Like, no,
Dude,
I'm
I put everybody's needs before myself, but that's how I was raised,
Mhm.
and B, spent every single marriage. And then I had kids young too, so like that's a natural thing.
Here's a highlight. It's very difficult for me to set boundaries unless I am angry. I can sometimes set excessive boundaries and push people away too dramatically out of anger.
I feel like didn't get that question. No, because I wouldn't. I might have answered it no.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like unless I'm angry, it's like at the 11th hour someone sets a boundary. I'm really good at boundary setting this relationship right now. It's like that's not going to work for me, thank you. And I'm really proud of myself for that too.
You should be. I'm
Mhm.
just now learning how to set boundaries. So it's
So
been a
important.
really interesting. I feel like a fucking bitch, but it's not me being a bitch. It's just me setting boundaries, and I shouldn't feel so guilty over it, but I feel like a huge bitch.
It's very hard because I think women in society very people pleasing. We want to be a good girl. We want everyone to like us. It's very hard to stand on our business and say this isn't going to work for me. However, boundaries are this is what I'm going to do. I'm not going to say you can do whatever you want, but this is my circle and my square, and no one can step in cross that line unless I say that's okay. So it's like when I set a boundary, it's like you go do whatever you want to do. My behavior does not affect your behavior. However, I will not allow certain behavior here. So go do whatever you want over there, and they can decide what to do with it, you know? So it's just always like not to put constraints on the other person. It's like, you go do whatever. However, this will not be what is going to happen in my home, around my space, in my energy, XYZ. Here we go. Oh, if I notice my partner showing any signs of coldness, I panic and I want to get closer as quickly as possible.
Yo, that's me.
That's you and me. I'm like, coldness. I will see myself to the door.
You're like, I got things to do anyways. Bye.
Bye.
But me, I'm like, what's wrong? Tell me. Oh my God, tell me what's wrong. But that was me then.
Mm-hmm.
That's not me anymore. That's the thing. I feel like I have started to very much transition out of that. I don't like feeling it, but I'm also at a point I feel like um I don't care anymore.
Yeah.
I don't care to put their feelings first anymore. And I'm really cognizant about, okay, well, you can pull away if you want. I'll be here if you don't, but if you do, I'm probably going to be gone.
You are on the cusp of transitioning into
Us.
you're
Like I'm like I don't like feeling somebody's mad at me. So I try and like an example was like when I was with this man this past week.
Mhm.
He was upset because I was like, I don't want to show PDA,
Mhm.
you know. And he felt a little embarrassed because I told him before, I was like, no, I don't want to hold him, you know. And he felt a little embarrassed because I like pushed his hand away. I get it. I was a little drunk anyways, but it's fine. But when I could feel him upset, I was like trying to like joke with him. But
You were
then when
trying
yeah,
to be a peacemaker.
trying to be the peacemaker, exactly. But then when he expressed his feelings, I was like, this is my boundary. I was very clear about it. So I feel like I'm very much moving out of
I'm gonna stand on my business. Yeah.
yeah, I feel like I'm moving into that energy.
It's not uncommon for me to experience inward emotional turbulence throughout the duration of my romantic relationship. And I was like, that is not it. Like, I don't experience, if it's turbulent, I'm out. Like, I do not stay.
I feel like I'm getting to that point too, by the way. Like it it does make me panic a little bit, but I think I'm moving out of that space.
Here we go. Ooh, this is going to be hard for some people. It's a simple question. I know that I am worthy of a healthy, happy relationship.
You have to really think about that, like, and you have to really think about what that answer is internally.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't think some of us really believe that we deserve a happy, healthy relationship.
It is because, or just because you have a relation doesn't mean it's happy or healthy, but you can tell it is because it might be better than the last one, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's good just because it's
Right.
not as bad as the last one.
Yeah. But I
Yeah.
know for a fact now, I fucking deserve that shit.
I am
Deserve it.
deserving of every happiness in this world. It is all for me, and I'm gonna
Yep.
have it. And
Yep.
I'm not going to settle for less just to have something.
No.
So I'm going
No, not
to
ever.
allow our listeners to go to the quiz in the show notes if they would like to. I'm not going to spoil everything for you, but I was like, everyone is absolutely worthy of a healthy and happy relationship. Jack,
Yes.
before spellbounding, do you have any takeaways?
I think it's really important to be aware of your relationship style so that you can move towards becoming, if you don't think that you are a secure attachment style
Mm-hmm.
in your heart, if you don't think that, take that quiz.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe just take the quiz, because like it'll allow you to really understand why your relationship, I think, why you are the way you are in your relationship, and maybe you can move out of that and have some growth, learn the lessons so you have some growth.
Growth. I see.
Growth.
My last takeaway is that there's nothing wrong with being the attachment style you are, but I think it's better to understand the way that you are. And I will link to the book about attachment styles that I have read to let me learn a little bit more about myself if people want other resources, which is fantastic. But I also want to say, even though I'm like, out of all of them, I'm so glad I'm a dismissive avoidant. However, I currently am not dating someone who is a dismissive avoidant. And his anxious attachment style is almost a strength. You know what? It's not almost, it is a strength in our relationship. It is. He might feel anxious and it's like, okay, you're pulling away. What is going on? And then
Yeah.
I would be like, he checks me before I wreck me, kind of thing. And I can really appreciate that he calls me to not just pull away, but he also gives me space when I need it, which I do appreciate. So again, this other attachment style does serve our relationship very well. And he's not a secure attachment style, but as we are paired up, but again, we believe in healthy conflict resolution. We do care about each other. We're still in that sweet spot.
Yeah, you really are.
We
And but
do.
it's true though, because like his ability to communicate and also check in when he feels your, because as an anxious attachment style, so relatable. You're so aware of your partner's energy shift,
Immediately.
because you're just always like, is everything okay? Is everything okay? And you have a visible energy shift to him, and he's like, hey, what's up? You okay? And he's able to like almost like I don't know, like shake the shit out of you. Hey, it's fine.
Hey, we're
And
gonna like
yeah,
let
we're gonna be
let's
good.
like reconnect kind of thing. And yeah, that's a strength to our relationship too, because again, I think my previous husband, the Limey, was is two dismissive avoidance together, which we're just like, and as this relationship, I would say he's hypo aware and
Mhm.
he is hyper aware of any kind of emotional shift. And I am hypo aware. I'm like, I have no awareness of anyone's shit. Like this, when I get on the spectrum, I'm like, I have no idea if their like energy changed. I don't know what you're talking about. And it's like, I can like breathe differently. And he's like, so what's up? You
Yeah.
know? So again, his anxious attachment style is almost helpful in
Yeah.
our
And
relationship.
that's what you meant. That's what you meant earlier when you were like, you can have different anxious attachment styles and the relationship still works, because you guys are very different,
Mhm.
but you guys are communicative. So as long as your relationship is communicative in a healthy way, different
Yes.
relationship styles can absolutely have a
And
successful.
be beneficial to each other. You don't always
Exactly.
have to be secure attached to make it
Yeah.
work. And
Yeah.
it doesn't feel
It's
like
key.
work as it's
Yeah.
working. which is
Yeah,
really
you guys can be working together towards that secure
yeah.
attachment.
1000%. Oh,
Awesome.
God, dang. Ooh, we went places today,
We
Jacqueline.
did.
Ooh, are you whiskey bent? We made a cocktail. Are you ready for the spellbounding?
I'm so ready. I'm
What?
so ready, but I'm gonna have a drink first. Highly recommend a sugar rim.
I think I would too. I love it.
I
If
love
you
a
are
sugar
what
rim.
you eat, I am sweet.
All right, here we go.
Okay, we got it. Ooh, I'm ready. I
All
am
right.
ready.
The first one is the King of Pentacles.
King of
And it's
Pentacles.
upright. We got 3 upright cards, so that's awesome. The King of
Yes.
Pentacles represents abundance and power and security. I know.
I know. Like I was like, ring a ding ding.
A ring a ding ding.
Ring a ding ding.
King of Pentacles is like a fatherly figure, so it represents security, which how interesting that we're talking about our attachment styles
Want to be
because
secure? Yeah.
we want to be
Wanna feel
secure in our
safe.
relationships. I
Mhm.
love these cards. I love these cards. I'm using
So
the Murder
beautiful.
Rose deck again.
Yeah.
All right, so the next card is the 3 of Swords.
Three of
Again,
Swords. Okay.
upright. This
Mhm.
one has to do with like heartbreak.
Well, relationships do.
Is following a security one. And I think this actually has a lot to do with exactly what we're talking about. We're talking about relationships. We want to be secure. We've had our heart broken. This is what it is. This is the path that we were just talking about. Just by like delving into relationships
Mm-hmm.
and our attachment styles, we are talking about love and we are talking about heartbreak. And that brings me to my favorite card, the Sun. And that just has to do with celebration. It's about celebration and joy. It symbolizes success. And we're talking about relationships by learning our anxious attachment styles through stability, through our heartbreak.
Mm-hmm.
We do ultimately end up in a joyful spot as long as we are learning the lessons and going through our growth
Mm-hmm.
to get to that spot and get to that secure, happy, joyful relationship.
And to not stay in anxiety and in fear. And if we do the work on ourselves, like the sun will rise again.
Exactly. Oh, I
Mhm.
love that, Rach. Good job.
Thank you.
I pulled the cards, you read them. You get those messages out, I swear.
Hey, hey, hey.
Anyways, those are the 3 cards, the King of Pentacles, the 3 of Swords. I love this crow.
Yeah.
And then finally the Sun representing joy. Knowing that I was anxiously attached to somebody and knowing that I have moved into fearful avoidance and knowing that I am currently on the path to being dismissive and then eventually stable, probably, maybe, hopefully, we're praying.
Yes. Just to be clear,
Maybe by marriage
you don't
number
have to
7.
move through all of them. You can move from
We
one
don't.
straight into secure. Either way, we're
Or
both not there.
no, maybe I'll find, I'm just gonna keep falling off, y'all. Let's just be honest.
Yeah.
So that's the pull today. That's the pull today,
I
folks.
love the cards always speak to us, I feel. Like they're
I
so
really
good.
like that one.
Mm-hmm.
That one felt really, really good. As soon as I saw that the King of Pentacles, I was like, yeah, stability. That's what I
Yeah.
want.
To me, I always feel
Not
like the
whatever
first card's the most important. It was like, yeah, security. I was like, yes, this is what we want to do. I'm secure in my dismissive avoidantness.
Well, the thing is that okay, so the thing is that those 3 cards represent either past, present, future, or situation, action, outcome.
Yeah.
Right now it feels much more stable in both of our lives because of all of the lessons that we've gone through.
Yeah.
We've gone through that heartbreak, so that is absolutely the action, not the action we have to take, but the action that we have taken.
Mhm.
And now we're on this beautiful path to just joy and celebration. I don't know, that reading was probably for us, but definitely if you got something from it, I love it for you.
Please let us know. You can always find us on Instagram and TikTok at whiskey-bent.spellbound, or you can always share your stories with us check this out at blackandwhitefield.com. And be sure to join us on the after show on Patreon. It's $3.95 a month plus tax. That's where you get all the cheese may. So join us over there afterwards. And then on Patreon, you also get early release of shows and the
Yes.
spicy after hours content.
Yeah, you get
spicy
all the
cheese man.
juicy goss. That's where the goss is. Hot goss.
Hot goss. Tea is piping on the Patreon. So Jackie, you ready to hop over there?
I'm so ready to go. Let's pour another drink and get
Pour
to
another drink. Get the cheese.
Chismosas unite.
Bean and cheese man. Thank you so much for joining us for another fabulous and fantastic episode of Whiskey Bent and
Spellbound with Black
Whitefield. Love you.
Love you. Bye.